Got myself a new hat. So this past year, I've really dove headfirst into solo filmmaking, fully committing to solo filmmaking. So this video, all I want to do today is go over some thoughts I've had over really being immersed into the solo filmmaking culture and just give and provide you all with some tips on how to become solo filmmakers and make a living doing so. This video is sponsored by Storyblocks. Before I moved out here to Maui, I lived in Philadelphia and was following a more traditional cinematography route, which is going super well. I was DPing a ton of commercial shoots, working with awesome production companies, directors, producers, colorists, editors. But the more I did it and the more I grew within that career path, I felt like I had more to offer than just being the person shooting. So anyway, when I moved to Maui, there's no real film industry, per se out here. So it kind of forced me to take on tackling these creative projects solo, meaning I was doing all the above the line work, the writing, the directing, the shooting, the editing, the coloring, majority of the producing. And that's exactly what I did for a full year. And I made some really freaking awesome projects, in my opinion, that I'm really super proud of. Got a Vimeo staff pick, bunch of clients, brands, production companies have reached out to me. Overall, it's been absolutely incredible. I feel fulfilled creatively. It's been an amazing journey. I feel like I finally really found my creative filmmaking voice the past year. But now, coming back to the end of the year, after having done all these solo projects, I'm starting to get to a place where I'm like, I'm not so sure if I want to take the next step. I can continue doing projects solo completely by myself. So my first bit of advice for you is going to be to have a really freaking solid base of camera and audio skills. Obviously, story is king. Everyone says story is king, story is most important, which is true. But here's the thing, no one gives a crap about your story. No one's gonna give your story a chance if it looks completely unprofessional. It doesn't visually tell your story and the audio sucks. People can't bear to listen to what your project actually is. I'm not saying you need to be an elite cinematographer. I'm not saying you need to be an elite sound mixer. I'm neither of those. One of the main reasons I was able to be so successful as a solo creator is because I do have a very solid base in both of those categories. I was going down the traditional cinematography route. I know how to light things. I know how to make things look pretty. I've spent so much time working with audio and sound people that I know how to make the audio and the sound beautiful for the project. All those things have kind of become second nature for me. So when I'm going out into projects solo and I have a million things going through my head. I'm directing, I'm shooting, using my social skills to talk to the people around me, the actors or whatever it is. The camera stuff and the audio stuff is just second nature for me. I don't have to think about it. I'm not fumbling with camera settings. I'm not stuck wondering how I'm gonna position and frame this scene. And unfortunately, these are very important skill sets that do not have shortcuts. The only way to get better at these things is to go out and do them. Tutorials actually go out and practice these things. It takes years. And that leads into my next piece of advice. So this one is kind of hard for me to explain. So it takes a certain skill level for you to be a successful solo filmmaker. Obviously, when you're first starting out, you kind of stink and nobody wants to work with you, right? So you're kind of making projects solo. Maybe you're PAing on set to gain knowledge, working with other people shooting BTS to gain knowledge. But when it comes to your own projects, you're probably gonna be by yourself, shooting like your girlfriend or boyfriend. Then you start to get a little better. You start to get, pretty good at shooting or directing or whatever it is that you're doing. And maybe you're joining up with a team now who has other people that are better at different specific areas, and you guys work together to start shooting things and you start making better products. Then you get really good. You do that for a few years and you get to this point where you feel like you have a really good grasp on a lot of different aspects of filmmaking. You've spent years, you got experience. You're like, I would say, a mid-level tier filmmaker who can create really good work. And I feel like at the beginning of this year, that's where I was. And I think you need to be at that point if you're going to go solo and you're going to go and make an actual career and support yourself as a solo filmmaker. Like, I know how everything works, and that all took time. It took working with other people. It took years of experience to get to that point. So I think you need to be at this mid-level tier echelon of a filmmaker for you to be successful solo. I mean, obviously you're gonna make solo projects along the way, but those are gonna be like personal passion projects that you're not necessarily gonna be working with bigger clients shooting solo, if that makes sense. So my next piece of advice seems kind of obvious, but is if you're going to be solo, you need to be so freaking organized when it comes to your projects. You need to know everything in and out about the direction, the framing of every single shot, how every single frame is gonna match cut together. You need to shoot exactly what you need to shoot because you only have so much time and resources. You need to know what color shirt everyone's wearing. You need to know what time everyone needs to be there. You need to be organized and have a plan for yourself. You're not just gonna show up to these shoots and think of something on the fly and have it turn out to be successful. All these projects that I've been doing this past year have literally been nailed down to the single frame. You need to have a good plan. I cannot stress it enough. When you show up to shoot, your brain's gonna be scrambled no matter how much you prepare. But the fact that you did prepare is going to make it easier. And obviously shit's gonna hit the fan eventually on your project. And when it does, if you have a strong plan, you'll know where to divert to. And as many of you know, I do all my pre-production organization planning within an app called Milanote. Next bit of advice is to keep the gear as absolutely minimal as physically possible. I went from having an AC, gaffer grip, all this equipment, Alexa Mini fully rigged out with monitors left and right, focus pullers, external monitors here, you know, cables coming left and right. But when you're shooting solo, that is the absolute last thing you want. You don't want to be stressing about the gear. It's just one more thing that can go wrong, one more thing you have to worry about. So what I did, I downgraded to a very small camera package. I use my Sony FX3 and my Sony 24-70 on pretty much every single shot that I'm doing. On 90% of my shots, I'm walking around with my camera, my one lens, my Ronin gimbal, and maybe one light, which I barely ever use. A lot of times I'm just using natural light and bouncing it with one of those like 5-in-1 reflectors that you get off Amazon. In most situations, you're not gonna have the time or the manpower to set up a ton of lights. Again, it goes back to having a really good understanding of the cinematography. You need to know how to light with natural light, how to frame with natural light, and that's an art in itself. Keep the gear incredibly minimal. Also, it helps that the FX3 has like awesome autofocus. Having good autofocus has made my life so much easier as a solo filmmaker. So before I give you my last little nugget of advice, there's never been a better time for me to thank today's video sponsor, which is Storyblocks. When I think of solo filmmaking, there's not many tools or services out there that's gonna be more beneficial to the solo creator than a platform like Storyblocks. Storyblocks has an ever-growing library of demand-driven 4K footage, After Effects, and Premiere templates, sound effects, and so much more high-quality assets to help any video creator projects to get to that next level. With the unlimited all-access plan, you get unlimited royalty-free downloads, which is so helpful in testing assets that fit best for your projects. So often when you're working alone, you have these budget and time restraints, and you didn't have the time to get that last second drone clip of those beautiful trees setting a nice environmental landscape, or you didn't have time to catch that last shot of that little girl smiling that's gonna be super powerful for your client's project. Without killing yourself, you're able to get those and pick those up so easily with Storyblocks. Storyblocks has definitely saved my butt so many times in the past on client projects. So if you are solo creating or just creating in general, make sure that you check out down below in my description the link to Storyblocks. So my last bit of advice is to make sure that you have helpers. You need helpers. These are people that can help you hold stuff, help you change batteries, can help drive, can help with logistics if need be. I say solo filmmaking, but I never show up alone. I'm always bringing 1 or 2 young guys or gals with me to help me on set. It helps so much when, you know, there's someone standing there, you can be like, hey, can you hold the camera real quick? Or, hey, can you just hold this bounce for me? Or, you know, hey, can you run to the car and get that? It just, having someone there to take a little bit of the edge off is so helpful. Also, it just gets lonely. So having someone there that you trust, that you're friends with to maybe complain to or have a laugh with, it is so good for your morale. I think if I was out there totally by myself, it'd be a miserable experience. Now, I just want to share some thoughts that have just been running through my mind after going through a year of this solo filmmaking. First thing is, it is so fulfilling, but it is really hard to do these projects solo. It takes a lot out of me. Every time I get done one of these projects, it feels like I just fought in a war. Honestly, I don't know what fighting in a war is like, so that's probably way harder, so forget that I said that. Yeah, like I get done these projects, I'm just burnt toast, and then I have to go and make the BTS video for YouTube, and the breakdown just adds to it. I feel like this past year, I've aged like 10 years. How sustainable is it for me to always be shooting solo? Probably not very sustainable. Then another point, you know, I'm incredibly proud of the work that I've been able to create. There's always something missing in them. They're always like one step shy of taking it to that next level. Bigger budgets are going to buy you more control of the situation. And obviously shooting solo, I don't have these huge budgets. I don't have these huge resources. So don't really have a ton of control of external factors. So there's always gonna be something missing. As I continue to grow, I don't think I'm ever gonna be happy with the final product if I'm creating it solo. I know that it could be a little bit better if I'm working with a team. All right, so the last point that I wanna bring up that's really been on the forefront of my weird forehead, kind of a Neanderthal looking forehead. In 2022, I want to really make something that, you know, if I was sitting on my couch at night with Anna and Sansa, I'd flick on a movie and, you know, it's something that I really want to watch and spend like an hour and a half watching for my night. So in 2022, I want to make something that's important, that, you know, is bigger than the things that I've been making. The past month, I've been writing the script to hopefully my first feature film that I want to make next year. And that is something, a large scale narrative project that I know for a fact that I'm not going to be making solo. I guess it is if you want to make, you know, small documentaries, small commercials, the things that I've kind of been making, small personal projects, you can work solo. But if you want to make those larger than life video projects, I think you can't do that solo. Hope all this was helpful. So if you're looking to go solo in 2022, good luck grabbing the bull by the horns. Thanks as always for watching. I love you. Bye.